There's Frank Hogan, that's Chris Tolles' client. Frank Hogan. Mr. Tolles, press available here. Oh, Mr. Tolles, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Judge.
All right. So, Mr. Hogan, have you and Mr. Tolles worked this out with the state?
So I'm sorry. Judge, we want to work this case out. We want to plead guilty. That was always our intent. That was our announcement at the last calendar. We want to take the plea at the original terms that was offered by the state. We felt that it wasn't the fairest deal, but it wasn't a deal that we did agree to. We had continued the case only because I was trying to see if perhaps a brief continuance and my client being able to plead nolo because he has a CDL might be able to save his license and things of that nature. The original offer was a $500 fine, a 20 hours of community service. And we wanted to plead nolo because we wanted to do whatever we could to try to CDL. We had asked the state, in which they've done many times, to reduce the speed. They refused to do that. And
they don't do it, Mr. Tolles. I'm gonna tell you, recently they're not reducing 35s and over. I have not seen them reduce. With the standard thing is 12 months, a driver improvement course, a $500 fine. I rarely seen them take a NOLO on it, and 12 months probation, a $500 fine, and a driver improvement course is usually what I've seen them ask for.
Well, I've seen different things in different courtrooms, Judge.
Yeah, this one it's been pretty standard for the last year and a half.
Okay, well, like I said, I've sat in courtroom and seen them reduce speed. I've seen them negotiate. I've seen negotiations. But having said that, Judge, we wanted to take advantage of the what we would call the standard deal in this particular case. And so my client is now since lost his job. And he's now looking for employment, and so now it becomes more important that he take advantage of a NOLO because he is a CDL driver. That's how he makes his living. But he's lost his job, so he's going to have to find new employment. So he's not in the same position that he was as far as the fine is concerned, and he's not in the same position as he's done some community service. I did send something over, but he still has.
So, Mr. Tolles, you've known me for a long time. You know I don't have the most patience. What is it you're asking me for? Is this unnegotiated? What we doing?
I just want him to be able to plead nolo to the charge, for him to get the $500 fine, the driver's import course, and the 20 hours of community service. And that is what we're prepared to do with probation. With the probation, as the court said, and to have his conditions terminated or suspended upon completion of those terms. The only thing that's changed was the fact that we asked for a continuance. On the first time was on the calendar.
Okay, but what's the offer now? I'm not sure why that's. What's the issue?
Well, the issue is that's not the offer now, Your Honor. When the defense requested a continuance over our objection, you actually said that you would be increasing community service to 100 hours. So that is what the new offer is.
Because we were talking about him doing community service at a dog shelter or facility because he likes
dogs. Again, over our objection. So the standard offer is no longer the offer, Mr. Tolles, and we discussed that when you called me. So if your client wants to plead negotiated, then we will keep the $500 fine in place. We'll keep the defensive driving, but the community hours is 100 because again, that was over state's objection when the judge granted your continuance.
Well, again, Judge, and I'm speaking to the court now, not Ms. Hagler. I'm speaking to the court, and I'm asking the court to do what it just said was the standard within these particular cases, which is 20 hours of community service, a $500 fine, and 12 months probation. We're asking that it be suspended. The only reason the 100 hours came up, Judge, was because my client spoke out of turn and said something about, well, I could do this, but I think that in fairness, if we're being fair and consistent in the way the courts are run, that there's never been a time when the defense has asked for a continuance and that's changed the plea deal, or that when the state asked for a continuance, we've gotten some kind of benefit or lowered the plea deal because the state needed a continuance. I don't think a continuance, a one-time continuance, where we've already stated that we're pleading guilty, should increase the community.
All right, this is what I'm gonna do. So the guilty, the NOLO's off the table. We'll take the guilty plea, and I'll go with the $500 fine and the 20 hours of community service, because Mr. Hogan has been here a ton of times and he's gonna have to find a job. So we'll go ahead and stick with that. He can have pay-only probation and it'll terminate upon completion.
Well, Judge, we still want to take advantage of the NOLA. That's why he's here.
No,
CDL.
the guilty. I'll take the guilty and then the 500 and the 20 hours.
And then the NOLA, I just get the points and possibly everything for my license gets suspended, so I can't go to work anyways, right? That's basically what happens.
But this is my understanding that y'all announced that you would take the guilty plea the last time. What has changed? I don't, this 35 miles plus an hour is going to suspend, it's going to have negative consequences for a CDL holder no matter what. So I don't know why somebody would risk it. That's not my call. My call is, let's just get this done and keep moving, because
that's what we're trying to do, Judge. And
I get that, Mr. Tolles, but just like in the days of Buckhead bonds, what we don't do is tailor everything to what the individual defendant needs. If you're talking about standard, I'm telling you what's standard. And so this is not different than I'm resetting you back to the standard offer. That's what you're getting. They're not giving NOLOs on just for speeding 35 plus miles an hour. That's rare. That's a choice you make.
okay, well, again, and maybe this is because I don't have 100 speeding cases a year. I didn't know the standard, that was the quote unquote standard. I didn't know that there was no deviation, that there's no.
Well, Mr. Tolles, I can deviate on 21 to 25 miles per hour over the limit. I can deviate on 11 to 15. But when we're talking 35 plus miles an hour over the limit for somebody who is a trained driver, and that's everybody with a license, somebody who knows that that's not to be done. I mean,
And I explained, and
you can play that little violin for somebody else. If he wasn't out here driving like it was NASCAR, then we might have a different conversation. But at this point, speeding 35 plus miles an hour over the limit is just as bad to me as a DUI or a reckless, because you could still kill somebody.
Understood, Judge. And like I said, I didn't understand that was your position. I now know that that's your position. I didn't know that what I was asking for was as far as the continuance to try, like I said.
The continuance has not made a difference to me. We're back at reset. So we don't need to even be worried about the continuance. I'm back at what is the standard offer in a 35 plus mile an hour case. So if that's what you want, let's go ahead and do it.
Well, that wasn't explained to us, Your Honor, at the last thing, that was the standard.
What were you expecting, Mr. Tolles? So even if it's not the standard, if that's what I want to go with today, I'd still be upheld.
Maybe so. I mean, I'm not here to say that you would not be. I'm just saying that, in defense of my client, like I said, we've been agreeable, and we came in here trying to negotiate and trying to resolve the case in a fair and consistent manner. And when we were last here, the only thing I had asked the court, I didn't know this NOLO thing was a thing. That's the first time I'm hearing that. I didn't know I was asking for something that's just never given. I did not know that. So if that's what the court is telling me, that wasn't explained to us. It was my client that brought up the 100 hours of community service. It wasn't even the court. My client, like I said, spoke out of turn and said he would do 100 hours community service because he wanted to keep his license. So he wanted to, I guess, impress the court. I did not know that was, something that the court just did not do, that it wasn't explained to me. So if that's what the court is saying, then I still think that my client should get the benefit of either a NOLO with
100 hours. I'll do 100 hours with NOLO.
With NOLO with 100 hours.
If you give me paperwork to go do community service somewhere, I'll do it. I didn't have paperwork 4 months ago. I just need paperwork to do community service. I'm free to do
All right,
it.
let me hear from Ms. Hagler. Ms. Hagler.
Your Honor, again, overstate's objection, everyone was in court. You put on the record that he would do 100 hours of community service.
What you just said.
The defendant was aware, his attorney was aware, everyone was aware that was the new offer. The state is not, again, our initial offer is off the table. So we'll just defer to the court on how you wish to proceed with, again, it was 100 hours of community service.
I remember. But I don't think that's what Mr. Tolles is talking about. Mr. Tolles is focused on getting a NOLO.
Right.
Well, again, no, Your Honor. Again, we're going to proceed forward, like the judge said, with the guilty. If the defense attorney wants to have his IN do 20 hours community service, that's fine. But again, we're deferring to the court's ruling on this. So there will be no NOLOs on this case.
And that's not what Ms. Hagler said to me the other day. But now she wants to say that in court. She said,
well, because now you're trying to have your client do what, 20 hours? No, that was not the new offer.
Well, the court has explained to me, and I've known the court, the judge for a long time. If the court is telling me, and I take her at her word because I trust Judge Hayward. If Judge Hayward says that this is the standard, and this is what we're doing here, and I'm
the standard. If it's what I decided to do in this case, I would still be fine. I'm not outside the lines of what makes sense. It's 35 plus miles an hour over the limit. So what you're arguing is he should do 100 hours of community service and get a NOLO. That's what you want?
Yes.
I just can't do the NOLO. I'm not feeling the NOLO.
But that's what you agreed to do when we left the court. You said you would do the NOLO and the 100 hours of community service.
You agreed to the 100 hours. The judge was not agreeing about guilty versus, yeah.
100 hours.
Yeah, that was all she agreed to.
Hold on. Let me look back in my book.
Please, because the reason for the delay was because of the 5-year.
Hold on.
Yes, that's why it was continued, because of the 5 years, so we could do the NOLO. Otherwise, we just pled guilty that day.
I still would have had a job. Lost a $100,000 job for a speeding ticket. I was being chased. I approved.
Okay, I understand.
Look, I don't know the background on the whys and the wherefores. I don't. Let me look back, because I usually have notes on these things.
Yes, and because he was advised that there was a NOLO plea that was taken less than like 4 years, almost 5 years, but it was a little less than 5 years. So if we did the plea today, he could do that.
Okay, so on September 5th, I had that he wanted to do a not guilty and a bench trial. And then on September 17th, there was a waiver. And then the last time he was here, he was wanting to get stuff done and you weren't here. So I didn't let him make any announcements at that point. So the last time we talked about this was way back on the calendar call, before the calendar, or some point around the calendar call.
It was at a calendar call.
August 5th.
Yeah, it was at a calendar call, and you gave him.
But since then, we've had a waiver, we've had a not guilty and a bench trial. So, I mean, at this point, Mr.
Any of that, Judge. The only thing that has happened since then is the last time I was here, I had a conflict. That is it. The only thing that's changed, the only thing that got pushed back from last week, because we were supposed to do this last week, I had a conflict. That is it. He was supposed to come in and do the plea, the NOLO plea, to the 100 hours of community service, the $500 fine last week. I was not here because I had a conflict. There was no waiver, there was no bench trial, there was no nothing. And so the court told us to come back this week, which we had done. I had talked to Ms. Hagler over the phone. I wasn't aware that this was, she didn't tell me that this was them. She just told me that this was her recommendation. And I said, well, fine. I just did, and I told her I didn't know why she was objecting to my continuance. So the reason for the continuance, Judge, was so that he could take a NOLA plea outside the 5 years, so we could try to save his CDL, so we could try to save his livelihood. And that's all we're asking the court to do today. And the court agreed to do that.
With the 100 hours.
With the 100 hours of community service, probation, all that.
Money, you want to double it, I'll pay it. That's what you want.
Let me think about it. Give me a minute.
All right, thank you.
All right, next on the calendar is Tori Akeem Williams. That case is closed. So
I'm right here.
So Mr. Williams, your case was no pros. It was a distracted driving case. And so we trust that you are going to get and maintain a hands-free device to operate your vehicle. But the case was dismissed on September 23rd.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Right, but get that hands-free device, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And Your Honor, I do have an announcement on Miss Acosta. Leslie, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
I do have a copy of her completed driver's class, official driver's class, so let's take on the non-profit case.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Acosta. So, Mr. Tolles. The court is going to give you the 100 hours of community service in the NOLA and the $500 fine.
Thank you, Judge.
Only because a couple of things. Mr. Hogan has been here every single time since April, at least. And because I don't want it to appear that you're being punished for a continuance, because that's not how I roll. But I also, I just really feel like this could have been done a lot quicker, a lot sooner. We didn't have to have all these delays.
Yes, and most of that was my conflict letters and
yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying, Mr. Toll.
I went to jail.
Mr. Hogan was here every single time.
Mr. Hogan even actually went to jail because I was on a conflict letter.
I had 10 hours of community, Plain County. I lost my job, Plain County fee. I had to bond out, second chance bail's bondsman.
Yeah.
I'm a person that's on top of everything, so
I got you, Mr. Hogan. So that part plays into it also. So, Mr. Hogan, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give in this matter will be true?
Yeah.
All right. So you're before the court on speeding 35 plus miles an hour over the limit. This is case 2023 CR 06129. You're represented by attorney Chris Tolles. You're entering a plea of NOLO. By doing so, you give up the right to have a trial by jury or judge. You give up the right to have the state prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You give up the right to have the presumption of innocence in your favor. You give up the right to confront witnesses, subpoena witnesses, present testimony and evidence on your behalf, to not incriminate yourself or present any testimony or evidence against yourself. And if you're not a United States citizen, a plea of guilty or no contest could negatively impact your immigration status. You understand all of these things?
Yes, ma'am.
Factual basis and factual basis, please. And I have the recommendation.
Yes, Your Honor. On or about June 16th of 2023, Officer R, last name Calvert, C as in cat, A-L, B as in Victor, E-R-T, provide the defendant a ticket for speeding. The defendant was going 106 miles per hour in a 65-mile-per-hour zone. Pursuant to the remarks in the ticket, the defendant was recklessly changing lanes through traffic on the while the officer was on the HOV ramp. Officer Calvert also used his stalker radar in clocking the defendant's speed. And those are the facts of the case and the facts that occur in Clayton County, Georgia.
All right, Mr. Hogan, I'm going to accept your plea of no loss. I'll sentence you to pay a fine in the amount of $500. It's going to be $737.50 with the surcharges, 100 hours of community service, and you'll be on only probation until your 100 hours of community service and your fine are paid. After that, your probation will terminate, but you have to complete all of the terms and conditions of probation. You have to report while you're on probation. Mr. Hogan, you're a commercial driver, and so you know you've seen crazy stuff on the roads. I don't know that you've been part of crazy stuff on the roads. You understand?
I'm definitely not. I'm after this situation, like I said, I don't want to own a gun. I don't even want to come outside no more, you know? So just this little situation with all the other craziness that's going on in the world, it literally, I'm setting my house up as a bunker so I don't have to come out, you know? So
I mean, that's not necessary.
But like I said, the thing is why I got tolls in the first place was to represent my, no, it's over, but with Ms. Hagler, it's like I said, it's like I said, only what the cops, so I'm confident enough that if she was to contact the sheriff, he would be like, hey, there was a black truck. I remember that guy because it's hard not to remember somebody doing 106. There was a black truck chasing him. I just stopped him first because he was going faster. You see what I'm saying? So by the time I seen there was cops.
So was this somebody you had made contact with?
Yes, I was selling puppies and I had all the paperwork to show. That's when I mentioned to you I was a dog breeder and I was trying to sell the puppies and then somebody was trying to forcibly take one and I started running. You see what I'm saying? So it's like my initial thing was to run. You know, so like I said, it's already done. I just need paperwork from either the probation or you. So when I go to these places, I have something, a court order saying, hey, I have the time. I have weekends and now I got Monday through Sunday to do the community service. So I apologize. This won't be the last time you possibly see me. Hopefully not for speeding, but like I said.
But Mr. Hogan, just don't sell no more puppies. I told you what I feel about rescue versus breeding.
I got you. I ain't got no more. I just did it to save me some taxes on my dog food, man. That's it. So when I find dog, I
rescued a pit the other day that was just hanging out at somebody's house.
My dogs are XL American Bullies. They
I get that we go fancy. I'm a pit bully girl myself, but what I'm saying to you is the ones that you sell, you can't trust that they're not going to end up on the street. I saw a Staffordshire bully mix, beautiful dog, Brindle, beautiful dog the other day, rescued it because it was hanging out at my friend's house and she's not a dog person. Dog was amazing, but I couldn't take another dog and I can't find anybody else who could take them. So the whole point is as long as you're breeding dogs, we have, if you look at the Clayton County shelter, I'm on their website. They send out a notice every week of the dogs that are going to be euthanized because they can't find homes. And 99% of those dogs are Staffordshire or bullies.
It's going to
99%.
Get worse with people's pockets. People can't feed themselves. So
No, it's not that, Mr. Hogan. It is because people get dogs because they think it's a thing to do, but they don't understand that dogs they require time, they require attention. And so it's not so much about the food. It's more about the fact that people they get them and then it's too much. I want to go out. I don't want to go home and feed the dog. So people, if we're breeding dogs, we're just adding to that population of dogs that every Thursday are on the kill list. Every Thursday.
And I do the community service at your place at the Clayton County.
You can do community service at whatever dog show.
You say you connected to that place, so that's why I want to go there and be like, I'm here for Miss Hayward to, you know.
Well, you can just take the paperwork. They'll take you.
If they know you, then I'm gonna take. That's where I'm gonna go. So when I bring it back, Hagler can see I did the 100 hours at your place. and that'll be it. So
It's not my place. It's just
your
the
name is
county
on there.
shelter.
you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be happy to know you sent me there to save some animals. So
They
I'm
need
an
the
animal
help.
person. I talk to spiders and trees and stuff. So like I said, I'm one with nature, you know. So like I
I
said,
got you, Mr. Hogan. Well, they will appreciate the help. If
all
you,
right.
when you leave the courtroom, go to your right, the courtroom on your right, courtroom 305, go through that first set of double doors, and Miss James is gonna be in there. She's gonna get you set up for probation. Ask her any questions that you might have pertaining to your particular situation, but she's going to explain everything you need to do. If you're having difficulty with anything, especially completing the community service, please make sure you talk to your probation officer. They're here to make sure you successfully complete. You understand?
We'll get the paperwork there as well, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
All right,
guys.
All righty.